You are listening to the Maple Footy Podcast, the unofficial football podcast of the North. I'm your host, Sam Little. Find me on socials at SamLittle44 and the podcast at Maple Footy Pod. And now there's nothing left to say except for sit back, enjoy, and welcome to the show.
Hello, yes, and welcome back to the Maple Footy Podcast. You already know, we play in the intro. We the unofficial football podcast of the North. And before we get into this one, just want to say a big time thank you to anybody that has listened and shared that Matthew Scianitti interview that did just go up. If you have not checked it out, what are you doing? Go and check it out. One of my favorite things I've done, period, with this podcast. I thought it turned out great. Matthew was amazing, as we would expect from a professional like him, but he was just unreal. I absolutely love that interview to bits, so definitely check it out if you haven't yet. And if you have, why not give it another watch? It's that good. You might as well. But of course, you know why you're here today. We're talking about Canada's friendly against Iceland, and I think this is going to be described as a tale of two halves, and I don't think it was, to be honest. I think it was the same issues plaguing Canada, and we kind of got bailed out with two penalties. Not that I think that they weren't penalties, because they were, but I mean, those penalties really saved us from what I think would have been a very, very bad result. So how we do these, when I talk about the Canadian men's national team, we go pros, cons, and then we go by player breakdown, going into the substitutes, and then just any thoughts I have along the way as well to share. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing here. So yeah, let's get into the pros section of this. So, really not a lot of pros. Let's be real here. I'm just going to call a spade a spade. I know that, you want to find the positivity and whatnot, and I like to think here on Maple Footy we do. But I was not impressed with this performance really all that much. But I will say pros were those first three substitutions we made. I thought they were class. Marcelo Flores making his Canada men's national team debut. Congratulations to him, although I know he's not watching this. But still, very big moment for him. Huge moment, I think, for a lot of the talk surrounding him as well throughout his saga of becoming a Canadian men's national team player, but still big moment nonetheless. Daniel Jebison came in. I thought he looked very lively. Of course, was the player that got fouled for that second penalty. Very smart play from him. Iceland player leaves his foot trailing. Daniel Jebison says, well, thank you very much. I will fall over that, and we're in the box, so that will be a penalty. And that's exactly what happens. And I thought his movement on and off the ball looked quite good. In our last episode, when I broke down the Canada men's national team squad for this window, I had said Daniel Jebison, I think, outside Jonathan David, is our most technically gifted striker that we have at our disposal. And I think he kind of showed it here in spurts. Anytime he was on the ball, he looked pretty good. So would be interested to see if he starts next game. I'm not sure I would, just because I think I'd give David and Laren another run out together. But of course, it'll be Jesse Marsh's choice, obviously. So we'll see. And then Jonathan Osorio, I thought he came in, and I thought he was on hot take here. I thought Jonathan Osorio was probably the best player on the pitch in red today. I think he came on and he really helped shore up our midfield that looked really out of their depth. And I think that is calls for concern for our midfield, which we will kind of get into when we talk about the cons, and then I'm sure as we talk about the midfield as well. But yeah, Jonathan Osorio, I thought he came in, looked very comfortable, looked very confident on the ball. Looked like a man that was playing for his roster spot, because for all intents and purposes, he is playing for his roster spot. And I think today proved this is why you bring some experienced players like a Jonathan Osorio to a World Cup. The moment, although, yes, it was a friendly, don't get me wrong, so it's not like this is apples to apples here. But still, he came on. The moment wasn't too big. He came on at 2-0 down, came in, looked very comfortable, really shored up that midfield, looked clean on the ball, was linking play really well between defense to attack, finding guys like Richie in some dangerous positions, finding Jonathan David for the couple minutes they shared on the pitch, finding Tajon Buchanan. I just thought Osorio looked quite good, and this is why I think that he needs to be on the plane for the World Cup. And I know I may come off as a little bit biased on this one, but genuinely, when you have a player with his footballing IQ and his experience, I don't think that is someone that you want to take a chance on not bringing to this World Cup. There is going to be a moment in the tournament where we will need someone of a Jonathan Osario's capabilities to come in, and I think he showed that today against Iceland. Outside of that, not many other pros in my humble opinion. Yeah, there was like mini pros throughout the game, but I'm sure we'll kind of delve into those. The only other pro I have is Jonathan David, ice cold from the penalty spot. Both ways, basically identical penalties, about 10 minutes apart. Yeah, that takes guts. That's why they call him the Iceman. But we will get into the cons because I do have quite a few, and once again, don't always want to be negative here, but I think it's negative and frustrating because these have been issues that have plagued us since at least 2 years. At least 2 years under Jesse Marsch. Lack of discipline, a red card again for Tajon. I say again for Tajon. It's Tajon's first, but a red card again for the team. Not good at all, because in a World Cup, yeah, we can debate, was it a red card? Would this be given a World Cup? We know what we saw. This is another Canadian men's national team player that gets a red card in a friendly before the World Cup. That's just simply not good enough. And he is one of our more experienced players. He's a man that has over 50 caps, has played in Serie A, played in La Liga, has played in Belgium, played in MLS. He has experience. He should know better than to do something like that and put himself in that position. Once again, we can debate, is it a red card? Doesn't matter. Red card got given. And this is a number of players that have been sent off in this Jesse Marsch era for just not being able to keep their cool, I guess. Although he wasn't, not that he was throwing elbows left and right, but I suppose not being able to keep his composure might be the better word for it, because him, Ali Ahmed, Ishmael Kone, Jacob Schaffelberg, Jesse Marsch himself, those are just off the top of my head in the last calendar, well, a little bit more than calendar year because we're in 2026, not 25, but in the last year now that have been sent off for just challenges that they shouldn't be doing and positions that they shouldn't be putting themselves in. I think our midfield once again looked overrun until Jonathan Osorio came in, which is not a good sign because Saliba and Choinière, while I do think they're both quality players, this was, I think, a big chance for them to step up and show, okay, no Kone, no Eustáquio. Let's show them what we can do. And I just think that they looked well overrun, which has been an issue regardless of who we've been playing in the midfield, but they never got a hold of this game. I thought they both looked lackadaisical on the ball, didn't really do a whole ton to warrant us going, okay, it shouldn't be Eustáquio and Kone. That shouldn't be starting this World Cup come June. We saw, I think it should be Eustáquio and Kone. And what's even more concerning is all the talk around Jonathan Osorio for the last year has been, is he good enough still to play in this World Cup? Is he good enough to offer something for Canada? We saw today he still is. And as much as I love Jonathan Osorio, he's going to be 34 in this World Cup. We should not be relying on a 34-year-old Jonathan Osorio to come on in a game to help us out and change it. We just shouldn't. And once again, I say this as a huge Jonathan Osorio fan and huge Jonathan Osorio supporter and defender, as someone that wants him to be at this World Cup. We should not be in a position of, oh man, Choinière and Saliba aren't looking good. We got to bring in the near 34-year-old Jonathan Osorio. I think it's very concerning in that sense. I thought our defense looked shaky, but Sam, our defense is injured. Yes. That defense, though, that played today is still quality. Richie Laryea, I thought, had one of his worst games in a national team kit in quite some time. I thought he looked very shaky on the ball, didn't look good when he was carrying it. And going forward, I thought he didn't look great either. There was that chance in the second half where he found himself in acres of space in the 18-yard box. And instead of drilling a low cross to any of Ali Ahmed, Tajon Buchanan, or Kyle Larin, he floats in a really terrible overhead ball to nobody, and Iceland says thank you very much. And I won't hold Richie to, he was terrible, because Richie has been very good the last number of months for Canada. This, I think, was just a poor game. Then on the right side of the defense, Nico Seeger didn't look great either. I thought he looked very shaky, especially in that first half. That second goal is on him. He looked way too timid on the ball, didn't look like he wanted to fully commit to getting the ball and making a challenge. And then in the end, It kind of costs him. And then Iceland, of course, go and score their second. Our center backs, of course, a lot will be made about Kamal Miller. And as you know, that's my center back. That's my number 4. I think this may have been the nail in the coffin for Kamal Miller for going to the World Cup, as much as that kills me. And I love Kamal Miller. But that mistake was huge and brutal. And then he didn't really do a whole ton to rectify said mistake. He looked shaky again, as well, I should say, as most of the defense did on the day. And I think that, as we already know, he hasn't really been much of a Jesse Marsch guy since Jesse Marsch has come in. Now, with what could be genuinely his final opportunity to maybe win Jesse Marsch over, I don't think he's done that, meaning I really don't see a world where Kamal Miller is going to this World Cup, which, as a big Kamal fan, kind of sucks. And of course, for the player, that sucks. But he did make a huge mistake on the day and then didn't do much to rectify that. His partner on the day, Joel Waterman, who I've praised over the last couple months for being able to step up and I think has really improved, he also didn't look up to it. I think he is a little bit lucky that he wasn't the one that made the mistake, because I think him and Kamal, outside that mistake, were pretty much on par on the day. Didn't look great, didn't look on the ball, didn't look really good, which is uncharacteristic for Joel Waterman, who usually looks very calm, cool, and collected on the ball. On the day, he really didn't. He wasn't really helping us build from the back, and I think that is another concern. 2 more concerns I have that I've had for quite some time. Can't score goals. I know we scored 2, but I'll change this one a little bit to can't score from open play. We need 2 penalties to bail us out on the day. Once again, ice cold from Jonathan David, greatly taken. But we needed 2 penalties to tie Iceland, 72nd in the world. We need 2 penalties. That's just not good enough. And this one kind of piggybacks that one. Lack of chances created. We can't score if chances aren't being created. We just can't. We have Ali Ahmed, a red-hot form with Norwich. He wasn't really creating a whole ton. Taser McKinnon, who's looking good in La Liga, he created a little bit, but not a ton. And that's kind of where these two things kind of, I guess, complement each other in the worst possible way. When we do create chances, we don't score them. And then when we need people to create chances, nobody's creating chances. So you kind of look and you go, what are we doing here to improve ahead of this World Cup? Because this has been months, years really, of us listing out these same concerns after nearly every game we play, whether we played good, bad, won, lost, drew. We here at Maple Footy have been saying these for years now, and nothing has changed for them. And I think that that's very concerning, given that we have one more March game and then we're into the June friendlies, which is essentially what a week before the World Cup itself. That is very concerning to me as a supporter of this team. My final con for this one is we played down to our opposition once again, which has become a theme under Jesse Marsch. And I don't know if it's like a mentality thing, if it's just an expectation thing, maybe on me, of going, oh man, like we should beat Iceland, which we should. But, you know, when we play against like a France, like an Argentina, you know, we play up. We play up to them. Even when we're playing like the States, we'll play up to them. But then we play an Iceland, a Guatemala. We play down and it ends up biting us. If it wasn't for 2 penalties, we lose this game. You know, and I think that's concerning too, because our group is currently Qatar and Switzerland plus either Bosnia or Italy as of recording. It hasn't been decided yet. They play each other. So you would expect us to beat Qatar, and that's concerning because we have a history of not beating teams that we should beat. Switzerland is pretty much, I would say, and within FIFA World Rankings, they're not too far above us, so they're kind of in and around our level. That's concerning. And then you have either a washed Italy team or a Bosnia that, once again, we are in the FIFA rankings better than. So are we going to be playing down the whole World Cup? That's very concerning. So it's still cause for so much concern right around the corner from the World Cup, which I just don't think is a good thing, obviously. No, I think it's great that we're all concerned right now. And maybe it's just me. Like, maybe it's just me that has these concerns. I don't really know. But I just find it troubling that we still have all these concerns ahead of the World Cup. And this, once again, is not me saying it's March of 2026 and the World Cup is in June. We should be perfect ahead of this World Cup. No, there's still going to be your kinks. There's still going to be things to work on and be concerned about. But when it's this long a list of things that have been the same list pretty much for about 2 years now, that's no longer like, it's March, we can't be perfect. That is fundamental issues within either the squad, the coaching staff, or, a mix of both that we are not dealing with. And I think that is extremely concerning heading into this World Cup. All right, let's move into the player-by-player, and this one's going to be pretty easy because it's for the goalkeeper at first. Dane had pretty much nothing to do all day. Big Dog Dane was not at fault for either one of the goals and went pretty well untested for most of the match. Maybe had we played a bit, no disrespect to Iceland, but maybe we played a little bit better of opposition, I think our defense would have been well more troubled than they were, because they were pretty well troubled without much pressure on them at all, which means that if we had maybe played, say it was Tunisia, who I think are a better team than Iceland, maybe it's a different game and Dane has a bit of a busier day in net. We have a little bit more to talk about for Big Dog Dane. But sadly, Big Dog Dane didn't have a whole ton to do. And I think that this is, now going back to the cons, another big concern. We are no closer to finding out who our goalkeeper is, in my humble opinion. Maxime Crepeau, it's been confirmed, will be starting against Tunisia. What did Dane do to separate himself from Maxime in this game? And that, no disrespect to Dane St. Clair, because as I just said, he was untested, but he was untested is my point. What can you do to differentiate yourself when you're being untested? Neither of those goals were on him, so it's not like you go, oh, those 2 goals were howlers from Dane St. Clair. Maybe we should start Crepeau. That wasn't the case. So now we're looking going, oh my gosh, who's going to be our number 1 goalkeeper? We still don't know. And who knows, maybe Maxime Crepeau goes out there and he has the game of his life against Tunisia and makes himself undeniable, or he goes out there and he lets in, say, 2 howlers against Tunisia, and we go, well, I guess Dane's our guy for the World Cup. But that is just another concern that we do have. And I understand we have 2 quality goalkeepers, but I'm going to put this into perspective here. Brazil, for the last 8 years, have had 2 of the best goalkeepers in the world at their disposal. Alisson and Ederson. They made their choice on Alisson. Alisson will be their guy for 90% of the games that they've played in those last 8 years of any importance. It's been Alisson as their goalkeeper. And it was no disrespect to Ederson. It was Alisson's our guy. He's going to be our guy. We need Jesse Marsch to make that decision of who should be our guy. Because while Crepeau and St. Clair are class keepers, Alisson and Ederson were 2 of the best of the last decade. And I don't mean to disparage Crepeau and St. Clair. I'm just trying to put into perspective. Brazil could make their choice between Alisson and Ederson, and Canada can't make their choice between Dane St. Clair and Maxime Crepeau. We need to make the choice, and this choice now has been dragged out way, way too long. We are in the final window before the World Cup. I know we have those 2 friendlies, and we still don't know who our starting goalkeeper is gonna be. And Dane St. Clair did nothing to differentiate himself today, and it's not even his fault. So amazing. Just splendid. Gonna talk about the defense, even though we kind of touched upon them, because I really thought that this was a very poor defensive showing. And this to me just shows, as I've been saying, our number 1 defense should still be Alistair Johnston, Moise Bombito, Derek Cornelius, and Alphonso Davies if all are fit at the World Cup. Because I know a lot of talk has been, should Alphonso Davies play as a winger? Should he play in the mid, like as the left mid? Should he play goalkeeper? I think we know now Alphonso Davies, he needs to be starting if he's healthy. And no disrespect to Richie Larea, I think he's been great in that spot for Alphonso Davies while Alphonso Davies has been away. Alphonso Davies is the best left back in the world and starts on literally any team in the world, international and club level, when healthy. So I think Alphonso Davies needs to be in there. I think we saw that today. I think Richie Larea looked shaky on the ball, as I kind of alluded to earlier. There was a couple times where he tried to dribble out of trouble and then dribbled just right back into trouble. As I said, there was some big chances I don't think he capitalized on. And then, just defensively, I don't think he looked phenomenal. And I think against better opposition, I think we're punished even more than we already were on the day. Moving across to the right back, Nico Seeger, as you well know, I'm a huge fan of Nico Seeger. He was one of my players of the year last year for Canada. I thought he was exceptional. But I think, as I've been calling now for a little bit, Seeger needs to go in the midfield. He just does. Look at what he's doing at club level over in Croatia with Hedžić. And then you see him have a performance like this for Canada. And this isn't the first time where he's looked out of place at right back for Canada. Whereas, don't get me wrong, he has looked good at right back for Canada. We have now seen him be not great at right back for Canada on a couple of occasions. He's at fault for that second goal, just being way, way too timid on the ball. Very uncharacteristically of him too, but way too timid on the ball. Doesn't commit one way or another. Gets caught, and then Iceland go and score their second. So I really, really want to see it. It won't happen, I don't think. Not yet, at least, not pre-World Cup. But we need Seeger in the midfield. We need to see what he can do on a consistent basis. I understand, but Sam, there's injuries. Alistair Johnston, you brought Jaquil Marshall-Rutty. Give him a run out in this game. Why is Jaquil Marshall-Rutty a natural right back, full back? Why is he not playing in this game? Richie Larea is a right back. He plays right back for TFC. Why is he not playing? But Sam, then who would play left back? Well, you could have called up a Raheem Edwards from TFC. You could have called up a Dubrian from Gais. We have options. And but Sam, those are drop-offs from Alphonso. Anybody is going to be a drop-off from Alphonso Davies. It's Alphonso Davies. So yes, anybody you bring is obviously not going to be as good as Alphonso Davies. But we still have quality guys that can at least slot into these spots while we're kind of, chopping and changing up the defense. So, long way of saying, I need Seeger in the midfield. Move Richie to right back while Alistair Johnston is out, or put Jaquil Marshall-Rutty in at right back, and then we go from there. Our center backs, I already touched upon them. Kamal Miller, as much as I love him and really want him to go to this World Cup just as a pure fan, I do really think that was probably the last time we're seeing Kamal Miller for Canada before this World Cup, unless the injuries continue, which is a shame. I think he's been really good for Portland over the last year, but sadly, Jesse Marsch, I don't think sees him as one of his guys, and every coach sees it differently. I understand that. And then Kamal Miller was given the ball today, and sadly, he did not run with it, both metaphorically and literally, because that goal was not good, and I'm pretty sure Kamal would probably tell you that himself, which is a shame. As I said, huge Kamal Miller fan. But then this also had me thinking of why did we not just start Priso? Because watching this, Kamal's probably not going to the World Cup. I know Kamal's probably not going to the World Cup. Jesse Marsch knows Kamal's probably not going to the World Cup. Why is Kamal starting this game? Why not let a Ralph Priso start this game? See what he can do for 90 for Canada. And I understand what you'll probably say, but Sam, there's another game against Tunisia. So you're going to give the guy one game to see, well, maybe you might make the World Cup squad, And from there, I just look and I go, Jesse Marsch needs to maybe make that call of Kamal's not going to the World Cup. I don't think he is, me personally. Sam speaking, I don't think he's going to the World Cup. I think Jesse Marsch knows that. Ralph Priso has a shot to go to this World Cup. Why is Ralph Priso not just starting this? Let him get both games against Iceland and Tunisia. Let's see what he can do over that 180 minutes as a center back for Canada, because we got a sample size of him today, but that's not nearly enough. But anyways, Joel Waterman, as I've been saying, he's been one of my favorite players to watch on the rise this last year. I think he's totally turned himself around in my eyes. He's looked, I think, very good at both club and country level and has really turned around my perception of him. But on the day, I think he's kind of lucky it was Kamal that made the mistake and not him, because I think that both equally were just not up to it on the day, which I think is quite disappointing for both men, as they are both, I think, fighting for those World Cup spots. Moving into the midfield, I'll start with our two central midfielders because I basically have the same to say about them both, and I kind of already said most of it. I thought they looked well overrun. I don't think they looked properly up to it on the day, and that's really about it that I have for them, which is disappointing because I was really looking forward to see what they could do, because I think they have definitely impressed in the past for Canada. I just think on the day, they just didn't look great. It was nowhere near like disaster class performance from either one of them. I just thought they were kind of there. They were kind of pedestrian, I think would probably be the best way to describe each of their performances. They were just kind of pedestrian. You didn't really notice them doing much of anything. which is a concern because you want your two midfielders to be doing something. But yeah, that's really all I have to say for both Saliba and Choinière, although Saliba is still the best Saliba in world football. Looking at our wingers, I thought Ali Ahmed looked lively in spurts. The second half, I thought he started out really well, and I was kind of surprised to see his number go up so early, especially after it was probably the pass of the game that really should have led to a goal. He plays a beautiful ball to Jonathan David, just times it perfectly. David timed his run perfectly. Ali Ahmed held up the ball. Oh, it was so good. Would have been a great goal. But then Jonathan David doesn't score, sadly. But yeah, I thought that was phenomenal. That's the Ali Ahmed that we love, man. Like when Ali Ahmed is just in full on like flow, he's so enjoyable to watch for us. And not to say he wasn't. I thought for most of the game he was probably our best player. But those moments right there is like that's Ali Ahmed. Just beautiful stuff. And I wish it did lead to a goal because it deserved that much. But outside that, I do think he looked pretty lively on the ball. There was some times where he's kind of getting caught on the ball, which in that position as a winger is going to happen. You're not going to get past everyone every single time unless you're Eden Hazard. But no, and also you're just not going to get past him every single time. And he got stopped a few times. What I do always like about Ali Ahmed is even when he gets stopped, he doesn't stop. He'll still track back. He'll try to get the ball back. And, it's always a pet peeve of mine when someone loses the ball, whether they're a winger, a striker, a defender, a midfielder, anybody. When you lose a ball and you don't go to try to win it back, you lost the ball. You got to go get it back. And that's what I like about Ali Ahmed. He always does. Moving across, Tajon Buchanan. I thought first half, he looked okay. He didn't look great, kind of lively a little bit in spurts. And in the second half, I thought we saw the best and then the worst of Tajon Buchanan. We'll talk about his positives in the performance. I thought when he was on the ball in that second half, things were happening for Canada. They just were. He looked like he grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck and was saying, you know what? We're not losing this one today, boys. We're just not. And that's what I really liked about the Tajon Buchanan performance. He was crafty with that, getting the penalty, In today's game, it's definitely a penalty. I'm not sure. Maybe roll that back 10, 15, 20 years. I'm not sure that's a penalty. But regardless, intelligent play from Tajon Buchanan, grabbing the penalty. David, of course, scores it. And then, there was that one play where he got past Iceland players. It looked like he might have tweaked his knee, but then just kind of kept going and then laid down after the play and then got back up and it looked like he was fine. So hopefully, knock on wood, he is fine. But yeah, and then the worst of Tajon Buchanan, I'm sorry you have to hear this, Tajon Buchanan jersey. The worst of Tajon Buchanan, of course, is getting that just silly red card. And once again, I said it earlier, we can debate if it's a red card. It's still a red card. It got given. You cannot be putting yourself in those positions, and I won't beat the horse, but this is a huge problem in the Canadian men's national team right now, is just the lack of discipline and the lack of control, I suppose, of just not knowing when to not put yourself in that position. Just don't do it, because I understand the argument of, he was just trying to stop the guy from getting the ball. Why? And I understand it's to waste time, but there's other ways to waste time and not putting yourself in a position to get that red card. So yeah, I think that was really disappointing. But outside, if you take that out of it, I thought he had a really good performance, but sadly you can't take that out of it. So that really knocks his performance down a couple pegs for me. Our two strikers. This is the strike combo that I think Canada best thrives under. I don't even think it's close. Kyle Larin and Jonathan David. It just is. And neither one of these guys set the world ablaze on the day, but they look so much more comfortable than any other striking partnership that we've tried out. These guys just know each other. They know how to get the best of each other. They know how to play. Looking at Jonathan David, he gets those 2 penalty goals. There was that goal, not goal that I think should have been a goal from that Ali Ahmed moment. Outside of that, I do think that he's doing exactly what Jesse Marsch wants him to do. And while that is great, I also think it's kind of hindering from Jonathan David from getting to be in the box and creating in the box. He creates a lot, but a lot further back than I think I would like for Jonathan David. But that's a personal preference, so it's personal preference. But I do think that he looked better than he has for club in this game here. He looked a lot more comfortable on the ball. Looked like he actually trusted the guys around him. Looked like he trusts his strike partner, and he does. Jonathan David is a guy that plays better off of another striker. He doesn't play best as a lone number 9 unless you have two very tricky wingers, say, next to him in like a front 3. But I think he plays best off of a striker like a Kyle Larin, who's just a proper number 9. He's going to hold up the ball, going to be a poacher. He'll do anything to get in the box. And I think moving into Kyle Larin now, I do think that that's exactly what he was doing on the day. His hold up play looked pretty good. He was making a lot of good runs, but was never being found, which goes back to lack of creating chances and finding our guys in good spots. But yeah, he made a lot of good runs, found himself in a lot of really good positions. Sadly, was never found to get anything from those runs and good positions he was taking up, which I think is a shame. As the conductor of the Kyle Larin train, you want to see Kyle Larin grabbing those goals. But yeah, I do think that this, if both healthy, this has to be our strike partnership. No one, kind of like I was talking about with Jonathan Osorio, how nobody has really shown why Jonathan Osorio should not be there outside of age, because nobody's really stepped up to be like, we don't need Oso, as respectful as that can sound. Like, we're good. Like, we got this. No one has shown me that we're good without Kyle Larin. No one has shown me that, obviously excluding a Jonathan David. But any Jonathan David strike partner, nobody has showed me, yeah, we're good. So I do think that we got to see Kyle Larin more, and I would play him next game. Let's see what he can do. Give him another 90. Well, another start and however long he can go, but give him that. Let's see what he can do still. Let's see what him and David can still do together. They're our best 2 strikers on the men's side that we've probably ever had. No, probably they are. So I think you got to see what they can still do together. This is going to be Kyle Larin's last big run out before the World Cup. This is going to be his last big tournament for Canada, most likely. So I say you see what he can do, and you know what he can do, but you see what he can still do, because I think he did see it on this day, just was not getting found enough. So I kind of already discussed the 3 substitutes, so I'll quickly rediscuss them, I guess. Marcelo Flores, I thought, looked really lively. I'll be interested to see what he can do with a bit more game time. I wouldn't be shocked to see him start against Tunisia, but we'll wait and see on that. But yeah, I thought when he got on the ball, he looked very lively, looked very direct, which I think is good, which is what I really like about our wingers. I think all of our wingers, for the most part, are very direct in what they're doing, whether it is Marcelo Flores, Ali Ahmed, Tajon Buchanan, Liam Miller, Jacob Schaffelberg when he's healthy. They all look rather direct, which is good. That's what you want. So I thought he looked positive. I'd like to see more of him in the Red of Canada, so we'll see what he can do. Dallin Jebison, another guy I would like to see a bit more of. I wouldn't start him in the next game. I would still have Kyle Larin and Jonathan David, but I'd like to see him play a little bit more. We haven't seen Dallin Jebison for the national team for a couple windows now. I would like to see him. Let's see what he can do. I thought he looked lively when he came on. Intelligent play to get that second penalty. And yeah, he looked very good on the ball. Jonathan Osorio, as I've already said, and I know I probably come off as super objective when talking about Jonathan Osorio. That was sarcasm. But I genuinely think he came on and he changed the game. Call me biased. You're probably right. But just the way he was controlling the ball, taking care of the ball, linking defense to attack, helping the ball just move around the pitch. I don't know. Something about the way that he was playing just shirted up, and I was watching going, if we don't bring him to the World Cup, I think it's going to be a big, big, big mistake. Derek Cornelius came on the 75th for Kamal Miller. He didn't have a whole ton to do, so I don't have much to say about the performance. Ralph Priso came on in the 86th minute. Once again, didn't have a whole ton to do. Fell asleep which was a little bit concerning, but you also do have to take into account he came into this game with about 5 minutes left, coming in cold, but he fell asleep. But when a ball came in, I don't know the Iceland player that got on the end of it, but forcing Dane St. Clair into a save. But yeah, outside of that, Ralph Priso didn't have a ton to do. I was very happy that Ralph Priso got in. I've been calling for a Ralph Priso Canada men's national team call-up since about October, so I was very happy to see him get the call, and then of course get his official debut. I know he played in that Camp Poutine as well, but I'm happy that he got in here, and I do think that if he continues to play how he is at the Whitecaps, I think that we could be seeing him going to the World Cup. And then Liam Miller, not a whole ton to say as well. Didn't have a whole ton of time to introduce himself to this game, but the Liam Miller hive, rest assured, was still buzzing when he did come in, and really looking forward to getting my Liam Miller jersey. I got the men's national team, the black one, the new black one, and we're going to be getting Liam Miller on there because, of course, the Hive's got to be buzzing and got to be representing, so very excited for that. But, yeah, not a whole lot to say on Liam Miller's performance. I would like to see him start now, especially with Tajon Buchanan out. I would go with a wing pairing of Marcelo Flores and Liam Miller for this next game against Tunisia, but, of course, we'll see what Jesse Marsch wants to do. But, yeah, outside of that, I think I've said what I've wanted to say. This wasn't the worst performance I've ever seen from us, but this definitely wasn't a great performance that's filled me with such confidence heading into a World Cup. I'm gonna be optimistic and say I think we can go again and we can go better against Tunisia. I hope that the guys will be up for it against Tunisia and really show us like some proper just grit and really get a result. They need to get a result, and I think they need to do it in a proper way, not off of 2 penalties, and then you draw the team. No, I want to see us go out there and play proper football, whether it's, we play proper football and get a 1-0, we play proper football and we get a 5-0, regardless. I want to see us go out there, grab the game by the throat and go, this is our game. We need to show this Canadian crowd why we think we can do something in this World Cup. Not to say to go win it, but I mean, to get the nation going, okay, yeah, like we got this. Like I think we're okay in this group stage. I think we could go maybe a bit further than group stage. Maybe we can get past that round of 32. Maybe we can get into the quarterfinals, Just go out there and show us something that we can go, yeah, okay, cuz this is a couple results now where I think it's been a little bit lackluster from Canada. So I'd like to see us go out there and just properly play football that we know that this team can play. But outside of that, thank you so much for listening. I will end it there. Once again, just a reminder, check out that Matthew Scianitti interview if you have not. Absolutely love that one to bits, so definitely go check it out. I think it's a great one. I will be at the game in Toronto against Tunisia, so really looking forward to that. I think it'll be a good game, hopefully, and of course there will be a recap for that one as well. So follow us along on the socials to keep up to date, all linked below. And yeah, outside of that, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it, and until next time, cheers, everyone.
And that was your Maple Footy podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Check my socials for any and all future updates. Remember to support Canadian football, be kind, and until next time, live, laugh, little.